She carefully spooned the rice into the tin bowls. She had prepared it that morning, and it was still steaming. The dogs started to edge forward, crowding around her. A furrow of worry started to form on her forehead. Where was Tua Plu today? She started to panic, and her eyes darted to the outer ring of encroaching stray dogs. Then, she saw him and was startled by what was dangling from his mouth. Every day Orawan Kaewla-iat had the same routine. She would cook rice for the stray dogs in the area where she lived, in Krabi, Thailand. She was living at the housing for the city police for now but would be moving soon. She was worried about who would take care of the dogs when she was gone, and she was especially worried for Tua Plu. Tua Plu was no ordinary dog. Orawan had developed a soft spot for one dog in particular, and she had named him Tua Plu, which translates to winged bean. She had given him the name because of his happy-go-lucky nature and his endearing temperament. Every day he and his mother would patiently wait for their turn to be fed, and then he did something extraordinary that would imprint on her heart forever. Orawan carefully slipped the collar over Tua Plu's head. She had to make sure he would be safe. In Thailand, dogs who were not wearing collars would be captured and taken to be euthanized. Orawan had always had an affinity for animals, and the thought of the hungry strays drove her to feed and care for as many as she could. It was a hard life for a street dog. Every day more and more stray dogs would arrive, jostling and hungry. Some of them had been abandoned by their owners, and some were truly feral and had been born on the streets. People were touched when they saw Orawan's kindness, but some people in the town were unhappy that Orawan was feeding them, and they regarded the stray dogs as vermin. By putting a collar on Tua Plu, Orawan hoped the people would let him be, and he would not be reported and taken to the pound. She also hoped that if he had identification, he would be less likely to fall prey to any kind of animal cruelty. There are people who did not care for dogs as she did. One day, Tua Plu and his mother were nowhere to be seen as Orawan did her daily feeding rounds. She feared the worst. Anything could have happened to him on the street in the night, where he had nobody to care for him. She waited and waited, but still, they did not arrive. It was unusual for them to miss feeding time, and she became more and more concerned. She started to search the streets nearby, hoping to find something, any trace of the two stray dogs. She went from door to door and asked the locals if they had seen her winged bean and his mother. She described them in detail, from their cream coats to their facial markings, and still, nobody was able to tell her where they were. After searching fruitlessly, Orawan circled back to the place where she always fed the dogs, hoping that Tua Plu and his mother had arrived while she was away. There was still no sign of them, and her heart grew heavy. Then, in the distance, she saw the cream-colored creature she had grown to love so much. As he approached, with his tail wagging, she saw what he was carrying in his mouth. Tua Plu approached Orawan slowly. His tail was wagging so hard that it made his little body sway from side to side, and he had a gift that he was holding carefully in his mouth. He dropped it in front of the bowl of rice that she had dished up for him and waited tentatively. Orawan inspected the wet green offering with apprehension. Then she realized that he was waiting for her approval. He had brought her a leaf as a token of appreciation for the bowl of rice, and he wouldn't tuck in until she had accepted it. He understood the concept of exchange, and she was incredibly touched by his gesture. Since then, Tua Plu has brought gifts for Orawan in exchange for his daily bowl of food. When he's hungry, he will offer something to get fed. Every day he shows up with an object in his mouth, usually a leaf and sometimes a piece of paper. Before you feed other dogs, you have to feed Tua Plu and his mom, Orawan explained. Due to the video that Orawan Kaewla-iat posted on Facebook of Tua Plu bringing her gifts of gratitude for feeding him, people all over the world have fallen in love with the little dog. People have even come forward wanting to adopt him, so she no longer fears that there will be nobody to take care of him when she moves. The video of the little dog has gone viral not just in Thailand, but all around the world, reaching over 3 million views. The intelligence and gratitude that Tua Plu shows with his gifts has astounded everyone who witnesses it, and he and his mother will undoubtedly have, forever, homes in the near future. The video of the little winged bean has also highlighted the plight of stray dogs everywhere, and inspires people to help animals in need in their own hometowns. The gratitude of the little pup is evident, as he continues to bring Orawan little gifts daily. Would you consider helping an animal in need next time you see one? If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. He heard a thump while he was driving. He had been doing his rounds that day delivering packages to the neighborhood. Something had to be wrong, so he parked his car and looked over his shoulder. He couldn't believe it, there was a dog in his truck. Maybe fate had brought them together, as the driver didn't know if the dog was abandoned or not. Little did he know, when he woke up the next morning, he would have all the answers. A UPS delivery man had his routes all in place. Every day or every couple of days he would visit the same houses and even began to spark up a friendship with the locals. We often hear of mailmen being afraid of dogs and of dogs taking a liking, good or bad, to these delivery people too. But this man never thought he would bond so well with one pooch in particular. He began his day like any other, loading his truck up with different packages he needed to deliver. He looked at one package in particular and saw the address on the label. It sounded familiar. When he started going from one house to the next, he couldn't help but notice a big dog on the side of the road. This beautiful dog seemed to be like it was just waiting, roaming, like it had no home. The UPS driver was confused but still continued to park his van and get the packages ready for delivery. The UPS driver got the package and began to walk to the front door. As soon as he started to approach the entrance of the house, he saw the dog walking towards him, too. This was very odd. The driver was used to dogs barking through fences or behind doors, but a dog coming straight towards him made him very nervous. Little did he know, this guy would soon become his best friend. Days passed, and deliveries to the same house were more than twice a week. Every time he delivered to one particular house, the dog, a beautiful blonde golden retriever, was always there, waiting. He never knew if the dog belonged to anyone, but he supposed it did as it stayed in one area. The next time he was going to see the pup, he was going to give the dog a surprise. The man knew he would have to deliver to the same house again, so when the time for the end of his shift came, he went to a pet store and bought a big bag of treats. Excited, he stashed them inside his truck for the next time he would see the big dog. Still, on one day, in particular, the dog would find another way to get what he wanted. The day came when the delivery man had to make the package delivery to the house where the dog would always be waiting for him. As he got out of the truck, he grabbed a couple of treats and headed towards the door of the house. When he had successfully delivered the package, he turned around and fed the dog a couple of treats while he rubbed his ears and belly. The UPS driver and the golden retriever struck up an unlikely friendship. It all started that day when he gave the dog some treats, but then he did the same the next day, and again the next. This continued for weeks, until one day, he forgot to buy more treats and the dog wasn't going to let him off the hook so easily. On that fateful day, the UPS driver had to rush out of his home, consequently forgetting to buy more treats. He didn't realize he was not carrying any treats until he got to the house and tried to look for them inside the truck. There was no luck, not even one small dog treat was left. As he pulled up, he saw the pup, but shamefully didn't want to draw his attention. Then, the delivery man grabbed the package and headed towards the home's door. Little did the delivery man know, this pup had another idea. The driver saw the golden retriever disappear and he thought that the dog must have known that today he didn't have any treats, so he went back to wherever it was he lived. That was not the case. This pup was in for a ride of his lifetime, but still, the delivery man had no idea what was happening. The UPS man went ahead with his day, delivering packages all around the neighborhood. His shift was almost over, but he still had 2 houses that needed their deliveries. He was driving when he heard a thump coming from where the packages were stored. How weird, he thought, but didn't give it much more thought, as maybe one of the packages had moved or fallen out of place. What the man didn't know was that the sneaky golden retriever was hiding inside his truck. The delivery man left the back of his truck open when he delivered the packages where the dog was always hanging around, and the dog decided to take matters into his own paws to get his treats. The driver had no idea he was driving around with him, a stowaway. It was time for the driver to make his second last stop, and the package he had to get was hefty in size. He opened the back of his truck up, and right in front of him, eyes wide, tongue hanging, and tail wagging, was the beautiful pup. To say that the UPS driver was surprised would be a colossal understatement. The driver stood there, frozen. He had no idea if this dog even had a home. What could he do? Should he take it to the shelter, or back to where he always saw him wandering around? The driver had no idea what to do, but one thing was clear, he still had one delivery to do, and this dog was going to come with him. As he pondered his options, he still was undecided. Admittedly, this purebred dog belonged to someone. It's not every day you see a golden retriever abandoned by the side of the road. He decided to take him back to the house where he would always see him, but as he never saw the dog inside of the house, he left them by the side of the road, near where he would always be. Little did the man know, someone was watching his every move. The UPS driver chuckled about his adventure with the dog and told everyone at work what had happened to him. He was never going to forget the treats again. But then, someone had heard what had happened and immediately grabbed their phone and showed the driver a picture that was going viral. The picture was of his dog friend. What was going on? But then, as soon as he read the note, everything became clear. The man inside the house where the pup would always be lying around outside was indeed the pup's owner. He had seen everything unfold before him as he saw the dog get out of the UPS truck the day before. This man quickly took to Reddit and posted a picture of his pooch with a note around his neck. The note read, "The UPS man forgot to throw me a cookie. So I snuck into his truck and took a ride around the neighborhood. He had to deliver me back to my house." Bewildered, the UPS driver couldn't believe this had gone viral. And there he was the day before, considering that the dog might even be abandoned. He went back to the house and got to talking with the man who had received many packages from the delivery man. The owner of the dog told the driver how the dog would wait for him every day by the side of the road, and he would watch their encounter from the window. When he couldn't find his dog the day of the incident, he became very nervous. But then, saw him pull his truck up and deliver the dog back. Tons of Redditors who saw the picture of the dog with the note were entirely enthused and shared the picture, making it viral and even hit the headlines. Apparently, this kind of behavior between mailmen, deliverymen and pets is a lot more common than anyone thought. Nevertheless, the UPS driver never once forgot to buy treats again, and these two were the best of friends.